I'm just
Sure.
going to share with you a very small office in comparison to what we just saw. It's almost like a hole in the wall. Um, this is the Pen Color office or technical center in Singapore. So it's actually the second office for them outside US. So the first being in Amsterdam, the second is situated in Singapore. So our client, Pen Color, is actually a specialist in coating. A lot of the product that we see in the supermarket or the shelf of pharmacies and even down to the gadget that we use technically, cars, and it's all done by them. So basically, these technical centers is supposed to bring together designers from Asia Pacific, since it's in Singapore, and for them to collaborate. It's almost like a maker studio. You bring your laptop, you bring your product, and you get it done there like a prototype or a sample. So you see your projects from computers to reality. So the site is situated in Singapore Science Park, the west side of Singapore. So these are the site pictures. You can really see that it's actually an industrial building with very little window, and we have to pick a ground floor space is because we need some big machinery to come in as well as some of the loading in the future. And it's in a very odd shape, you can see that. So to tell you the size of the whole project is about 800 square meter, out of which more than half of them are actually workshop, and the front part, which is the smaller part, about 300 square meters, are then the office. I will show you the plan later. In line with our design ethos, we always design for the people, and we design for the environment, okay, with the context of the place. We want this place to be a user-centric place, well, sustainable, humble, honest, with the Asian sense of sensibilities in the design language that we use. So these are some of the imagery that we selected and some of the FF&E that you will see in our final product. So as usual, when we start the project, we go through what we call the investigation phase. We always believe to test what we know what we don't know, and also to find out more than what we always know. So that is the phase that we go through, and with that, we mapped up all the process and understand how the client works, how the designers comes in and work with the clients, etc., etc. And from there, we work up the plan. So the plan is very simple, straightforward. It's divided into three main zones. The first zone is a co-create. Second zone is the process. The third zone, which is the biggest one, is actually the create. So you can see that the main door is really just a hole in the walls, right? So because this is an industrial building and we only have a very small fire doors to access this place. So when you first come in, you have the lounge, the pantry, the rotunda, the collab space, conference, and some small little phone booth or Zoom booth next to the rotunda, as well as some private offices. And next to the rotunda is actually what we call the sample space. These are all the drawers and where you can get all the samples as well as put what you have done before into the drawers and come back the next week to look at it again and to improve, then followed by the workshop. So this is the view when you first walk through the doors. So we use the rotunda form, which is a round form, to shield off most of the view from the priors. And actually this place is only by invitation only. If you are a product designers or some designers, you want to come in and you will have to make an appointment, and each time it's only one group of designers can come in. There could be 10 or 5 or 8 of them. So they come in and this is what they see. So we wanted to make sure that they get a glimpse of the outside as soon as they come in. and where we try to borrow the lights for the green walls. So next to it is actually the lounge. This is where they will break up or they want to take a drinks and they rest. So you can see maybe at this point there are only two main materials. One of them is cement, one of them is plywood. And this constraint and these controls is actually throughout the entire project. And very, very clean, has this Asian sense of sensibilities in the design. So we also believe this is the pantry just next to the lounge area where you can get yourself a drink. We also believe in leaving a little bit of the blank canvas for the client to feel lived in for all our projects. Okay, so this wall is where they will display the product they have collaborated with the students, with the institutions, and with some of the designers. So this is where they will display, and this is like a live wall. They keep changing it, and they keep stocking it, and they keep refreshing it. So this is where the collab space is, and this is where we have the 3 round pots. And so, and this is where next to the windows, and this is where the green wall is. So after they downloaded the brief to the technicians, and while they're waiting for their coating to be done, they can break up into the lounge, the pantries, and some of these spaces to do their own work while waiting for that coating to be finished. And this is the rotunda. We needed a space right immediately after the create space, which is basically the coating space. The form comes purely arising from the site, as well as we wanted a place where they can gather quickly just outside the workshop. And the light you see there is actually almost like a skylight, but the light has its purpose. It's actually a true white light where you can see the products in its actual colors, in its ambient colors, and that's why the light is for, and that's where this form is for. And they can actually also connect it with their offices outside the lab. And the whole rotunda is really just made out of plywood, and I will explain the construction just a little bit later and why we did a certain thing the way it is. So this is the details when you look at the closed up. You almost can't see any screw. That is done by purpose. That kind of control, that kind of constraint that we impose on ourselves. As you know, plywood has good compressed strength, but it doesn't have very good tensile or, and it flex at a certain point. So this is the detail. So every single piece is curated with the length and the angle so that it angle at a right angle to borrow strength from each of the members. And the members are all of the same size, right? You can see that in the middle portion, we actually had it quite high, which is 3.4 meters. So in the middle portions, we have it denser. And that is also to shield the praying eye of the people and also give this space a little bit more privacy, but more importantly, is to stop the vertical member, which is plywood, from flexing. And this is the top plan views. And this is how it looks like. You can see that beyond the rotunda is where the process space is, and then beyond that is actually just the workshop already. So more view of that, and you can literally from here you can see all the machinery right behind. And so this is where the process space is. We call it the sample room. We have a huge amount of vertical drawers, and you can sort like deposit your bottles, deposit your objects there, and come back the next week to continue to finish the project. or a few more weeks later. So these are some of the deposit of some of their clients. I think you might be able to spot some of them familiar products. And so this is the light room, and this is for the technicians, and this room is also true white in the sense the lighting is calibrated exactly to see the color in its real state, as well as to see the color as what people will see in the screen, since everybody now go on e-commerce. So this is where the technician will sit, and this is where they also will discuss on the technique of coating as well as texturing the things that they are looking for. And this is the workshop, and you already can see that we have a double glass where from the workshop you go into the process room, which is all the storage for all the products and the samples, and then the next space is where the rotunda is. Okay, so these are some of the big machineries that you see on site. And with that, I thank you.
Congratulations on this project. I was curious about seeing that there's a contrast between the areas that are guest-facing and the areas that are designated for workplace for the people who actually work on the office. There's warmth on the guest-facing, and then there's this lab look on the others. Was at any point thought as a strategy to maybe bring the lab look into also the guest-facing areas?
Actually, the use of the space in itself is very different. One of them is really just quite hardcore technical space where we bring in lots of chemicals and etc. So you can see that the technical space, we just kept it simple concrete, which is the same floor that we used to rub, and we just simply painted the walls and bring in the machine. And most of the time, if the technician is not working inside the lab, or rather the technical space, they will be in their offices right in the front. So yeah, so it's done quite distinctly as two separate space, and we also want the technical space to be quite clean, easily maintained, accessible, and the designers can actually walk in and out of these two spaces as in when they want to, and they feel like mingling on the spot with the machine and the technician themselves while seeing their product being made and being finished. Yeah.
The circle has a lot of symbolic meaning in Asian culture. So I'm just curious that, when you put this circle on the plan, are there any sort of metaphor or symbolism that you're trying to put? Because you could use any form as your visual and spatial anchor, right? But you choose the circle. So I'm just curious why. And the second part of the question is, would it work if it's not a rotunda, your spatial anchor, in this weird floor plan?
Well, from the spatial planning angle, if it is not a circular form, you can see that from the floor plan, the original floor plan that we inherited, it is already with a lot of angle, is really quite weird shape, and the ceiling is also not very flat, and some part of the ceiling is dropping, and is a very bad industrial site. Okay, so I talk about, we wanted to make sure that this place has a sense of context since it's in Asia. So I wanted to bring in this Asian sense of sensibilities, as you have rightly pointed out. The circle really arises from spatial curation, And not only that, it also arises from the process of the making, because we needed a space to see the object, and a perfect round or cylindrical space with the light will give us that even, you know what I mean, the even ambience underneath the table, and just the right amount of things that we needed in the form, right? And I won't go into all the philosophical things like, it is perfect round, it is completion. Just cut that, but it's really both practical, functional, and 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 we think that it speaks the place.
Thank you. And I really like the boatless detail of the
Yeah,
rotunda.
it took us a while to get it done, because it's like the puppet toys that you hinge on this bow and the leg, and then you lift up, and then the whole thing will stand, and that is how this thing is being done. It's actually hang from the ceiling, and the joints are like angle like an elbow, right? And it so that the plywood itself uh, is wooden sack. But I think what is beautiful about this is that we do believe that when you treat the material honestly, humbly, and don't treat them too much, you're already doing something for the environment. So we sort like that. We didn't want to treat the materials. We just want to be in its raw state and see what we can do out of it. And I think we have proven yet again that even though so-called, I won't use the word cheap, people is going to stone me, but economical things can still look beautiful.
So you're talking about the circle. I couldn't hear Kelly very well, I'm sorry. But I love the mushroom. It feels like a mushroom to me. And I've always been fascinated by the gills of the mushroom. So I congratulate you particularly on that space, but also on some of the other spaces, one with the plants and the seating areas that had a very kind of internal, this is genuine interior stuff. And I like your choice of furniture.
Thank you.
I like the tables with the spheres. There's a certain Italian feel, dare I say. I think I know
thought
where
you
the
were gonna
chairs
say
came
Asian
from.
feel.
I suppose the real question is how you dealt with a very boring building. How did the building, did you turn your back on the building completely?
To answer the questions, we do not have any control of the building.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But you can react to it, and
Well,
you have to somehow come to terms with it if you're
Yeah.
if you're occupying it.
Okay, so good questions. As I said, that it's almost like a hole in the wall. Due to the fire code, we can't even remove the pair of door that you see, and the pair of door is like only about 1.5 meter in width. And there is a set of window right at the back. And so what we did was that we put the collapsed space and the green wall, where the greenery is the space that you talk about, closer to the window, maximizing the natural light harvesting, right? And all the offices, at least the conference room and the private offices are also over there. So to try to get maximum daylight into some of these working space, which means people who work long hour, and where people can do most of their collab work. So that's how we react to the site, and we borrow the view of the service driveway. Actually, right behind the windows are the service driveway, but we thought it's fine because you're not going to have a lot of lorry that comes by every day, but it has a roll of greenery, so you can see that the picture
Through
did
the
shows
window.
that yes, the borrowed view, and also mentioned that because the back is actually the service driveway, is also where the yard is, and we need the technical space to access the driveway and the yard quite frequently. So all that planning is responding to the site. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Fred? Quickie, please.
Thanks. It's a quick one. We're out of time, but you said early on your statement was we design around people and the environment. And I just wonder how you translated that into the actual built form, because even the office space, it seemed a little bit sterile and lacking a little bit of humane kind of scale to. I just want to understand how you design for people. You said people and environment. So can you just address those two?
So on the environment, like I also keep emphasizing, we believe in reducing carbon footprint. So that is always our ethos. And so we try to be very honest with materiality, and we were very restrained in the use of number of materials. So, and also we try to put where, we try to daylight harvest and things like that. So that is one of the things that we always do for the environment, and this is also part of for the work for the people. So on the people, we design for the user, and basically we started by fully understanding how the user use that space and what kind of users will be using that space, and how do the different type of users use that space at different time. That's number one. And also we have to make sure that this place is actually sort of like well certified in for the user as well. So we brought in the greenery, we maximize the daylight, and we like the idea that they can sort of like find a place where they feel comfortable in while waiting for the technicians to get their coating done. So they can retreat into a one-person kind of space with TVs and phone booth, and or they can sit in a lounge where we have this Italian-inspired type of furniture, or they can go into these little pots and right next to the greenery, or they can have a drink in the pantry. So that kind of free flows, and it's all that holistic space in one big space. That's what we were looking for.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.